still can't get over that.
Yeah, I bet they didn't sell that car at the dealership either. So hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. All those watching, thank you, Ray, and our very special guest. It's a not Tomato, it's Space.
Yeah.
So, hello, Space. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Today's topic comes directly from Mr. Space himself, our one and only. Which is better, the dealership model or direct to consumer? For all those who just watched the Ray and Zach show and saw the first pencil on that deal, I'm anxious to hear what Space thinks of the dealership model.
No, I didn't say it was the perfect one or the only single one. I think that there's its benefits and it's there's some disadvantages also of the direct to consumer model, and it'll be fun to discuss them here Unplugged, unrehearsed.
So when the data guy comes with the data, we're all in trouble.
Before we get started, can I ask Mario one question? I'll take that as yes, I can.
Yeah.
Mario, why do you go by the name of Space?
I don't know. It just stuck around online many years ago, and I don't like changing things, so it's just stuck. Yeah, I don't know. And there's a long story, Ray. I'll one day I'll tell you. It's part of a long story. Yeah.
I'll look forward to it.
Ray, are you in a bathrobe? Actually, I think that's a good-looking sweater.
Yeah,
thank you
nice.
very much. This is my original cardigan from the American Rag Company. Was the manufacturer of this particular cardigan, and I don't own a bathrobe. I might own many things that look like bathrobes, but I don't actually own a bathrobe.
I will say, Ray, that sweater looks very comfortable and very soft.
Thank you. It is, and it keeps me warm.
So. Yeah. Two of us are over here on the left coast where warm is relative. I think it gets below 50 and Mario puts a snow coat on. He can't handle it. But so it's a little different for us in our perspective what warm is.
I think, yes.
So Justice, going back to your intro there with the quote, I know it's an unpopular position, a subject, I understand what's happening outside in the marketplace, every single day. I know that people are frustrated and that's not the way of doing business. But, at the end, I'm a free market guy. I think that reducing, controlling, the input and the output as a direct to consumer model isn't in the best interest in the long term for the consumer. But I do agree, there's situations that need to be corrected. But let's go back before. Let's go back. We're looking at it right now when there's no supply, and I think it impacts direct-to-consumer model also having no supply. But let's go back a couple of years when. Do you remember when you used to drive a $228 BMW 3 Series lease? Do you remember when we used to drive a $99 Bolt? Do you remember when people, coming right back in and tell me, "Hey, Mario, I'm looking for a $250, affordable vehicle," and that was the free market back then. That was dealers moving metal, dealers trying in competition with other dealerships. Manufacturers probably focusing in to what they do better, which is building good vehicles that people want at a good price point that are, at least better, more reliable with better features. So I'm kind of like want to hear, I know that Tesla is up there, as the model, right, as something that's great, but I think if you question a little bit what they've been doing, you can see that it's probably not the best and the single one in the future for everyone. So that's why I'm kind of thinking questioning a little bit of the logic behind everyone going against dealers right now, and not questioning a little bit of the model. It's not the model right now. I think the model is okay. It's more about right now is the the situation with supply that's making everything reset. But I think that the direct-to-consumer model has a lot of issues also that need to be, reviewed and also seen, through a different angle.
Ray, I'll let you respond first. I have some ideas about that.
Well, I agree with Mario in the sense that if in the old days, 3 years ago, um, the olden days, dealerships competed against each other, and when that was the case, oftentimes the consumer could win. And when you have direct to consumer uh, pricing from like Tesla or what Rivian wants to do or what others want to do, is, at that point, it's just the price is the price. And everybody pays the same. It doesn't matter if you're a good negotiator or a bad negotiator. And I believe I read just today that that out of every $100 of income from Tesla on a car, $26 of that is actual net or actual profit for Tesla on a vehicle. So they're at a 26% profit margin. Okay. And I can assure you that Stellantis, General Motors, Ford, if they're half of that, they would be happy. And dealers used to operate on about a 1.5 to 2% net that would go to profit. So if you're doing deal or manufacturer direct to consumer, the consumer is definitely paying way too much for the vehicle, but accepting that price because they don't want to play the games that are typically associated with trying to buy a car at a dealership.
Okay,
Great.
yeah, I see that. Let me, since both of you brought up the magnificent Tesla Corporation, let me respond to that. Yes, Tesla does make more per vehicle than Toyota does on their gas version vehicles. However, my response to that is Tesla is creating an industry. Not that that justifies an over profit, but and all these other companies, and Ford says they lose money on their vehicles, which seems like uh, you're just stupid then, because Tesla's already showed how to make money on it. But Tesla also has built the largest, most sustainable charging network on the planet, better than all the other third party charging networks put together. And they did that with the profits from the vehicles. They didn't get extra to do that. That's what their profit is going to. So by building that charging network and putting that out there and building infrastructure for their vehicles, it does require a little bit more upfront. And if they had used the dealer model, it would either be Ford, where they lose money and aren't building any network or infrastructure, or the cost would be even higher than they are now. So for someone like Tesla and some of these other brands that are actually Rivian, who's actually building out networks and infrastructure on that, that's part of what you're paying for in there. Whereas if you have the dealer model, come on, we know not only would you have markup, because I mean, essentially Tesla is saying they're selling for invoice. But then you would also have all these added packages and, paint protection and, oh, well, you want that extra battery warmer, whatever they have in there, BS that they're going to put on there. So for me, the direct to consumer isn't MSRP, it's invoiced. You're paying invoice every single time. That's my pushback on that.
Not MSRP because it's not suggested. It's the price.
Yeah,
You know.
so it's invoice.
So dealers, sorry, direct to consumer, they control it. They can increase the price 25% in a year, like Tesla did, or 22 or whatever, and they can also drop it in a couple of days. Like $10,000. Like in January, and that has nothing to do with supply and demand. It's just a way of how they can squeeze the market a little bit better when it benefits, their margins. And when they see a little bit of threat or they want to adjust, they'll just drop it, right? And I think that the dealership model is more, let it stand by itself like free market. If you have, let's not say 90 days on the, supply. No, okay, so that won't come back. But if you have 45 days supply, which is, I think it's reasonable, right, for dealers and consumers, but you have availability, you have competition. You even have competition, you know, um, between dealers like Ray say, and they're going to be bad dealers, bad players, but they're going to be good ones. And one thing that I want to also talk about, because I think the convenience factor is here. Like everyone talks about convenience, like, oh, you mentioned it the other time, like, oh, convenient, it's you can just order it through a computer, and I'm like, well, a lot of people want to haggle for the price. They're gonna want to get the best deal. I think that's very American. That's very ingrained in our culture. And that, the surveys also mentioned that, more than 60% of people, they want to negotiate the price, and with direct to consumer, they have all the levers. If they want to increase the price, if they want to charge, you don't want a white Tesla, well, you have to pay $2,000 to get a red one. How is that reasonable? I mean, not even Lexus does that. Like, so it's like a way that they just
Well, are
control
you
it.
saying OEMs don't charge more for different colors?
Yeah, 2,000. I mean, that's just a Tesla. This
Well,
is not a
okay, but
$50,000 car.
every
But
manufacturer charges different for different
yeah,
colors, right?
but it's like what we see here. I always make fun of Tesla because everyone drives white cars. A white Tesla, white three, the three
Yeah.
Model 3, because people are price sensitive. They also want to pay an affordable price, and now they're limited because if you want to have something different, you cannot afford it. And I think that happens with the direct to consumer more than you think about it. Like they'll control everything. Oh, we will not make the affordable trims anymore. So if you want to get it, you want to get this one. Oh, you have to wait, because it's for our benefit. It is for their benefit. It's not. I think that controlling inventory, the less inventory, the less cost, and it makes sense. I would
But
probably do the same if I were the only one. If I'm the only one, I'll try to
haven't
squeeze the
OEMs
margin.
already cut out the base trims, Mario? Haven't the
Wait,
so it doesn't
come
dealership
on.
model or direct to consumer? Toyota's not making the base trim, man, and you know that. I mean,
I'm
they're just shoving it out. So as far as that part goes, like that doesn't matter
if
who's.
if if in the dealer model you see in the marketplace, you see vehicles that do not sell. If you see vehicles that are loaded up and those are the unattractive ones, they'll get discounted. They'll get discounted aggressively to move them. Now, when you control the entry and the exit, like Tesla does, you just stand by and say, hey, this is the price. This is the new reality. You said what the bottom is, but in the market, if a Corolla LE is a hot seller, which it probably won't, maybe it isn't because there's no market, but dealers will push the manufacturers also to bring them product that is, that actually sells. And the manufacturer will want to wholesale those vehicles. They just want to sell, want to move metal. And I think that's the free market. The market will find balance, and there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers, to be truthful, in any market, in any place, and I think for there to be big winners, like people that are patient, who don't buy vehicles today, for example, we tell them don't buy them, and they go and buy their Escalade. I think that there's going to be winners for people who are patient, who know how to time the market, who do a little bit of research, who want to do a little bit of the work. And then you're going to have the other ones that are not winners, which want just convenience and just want to hand it out, the deal. And they want the lowest price the first time that they step, a foot out the dealership, which it's not the system.
Well, I have some thoughts, but I'm going to let Ray jump in.
Well, the one thing that Mario mentioned that I know for a fact is true because I spent so many years in retail automotive, and that is, as much as consumers complain about the dealership experience and having to negotiate the price, oh, we hate that. Well, if you become a one price store, the first words out of their mouth is, well, how much lower can you get it to me for? Okay. So the reality is that I guess it was in the early 90s, and it might have been because of Saturn, that any number of dealerships decided to try and go to a one price model. Okay. Negotiation free selling. We're going to list the price of the vehicle, and that's the price of the vehicle. And I think the biggest penetration for that was about 6 or 7% of dealerships nationally tried that. And for most of those dealerships, it did not work because even though consumers complain the most about negotiating the price of the vehicle, they still want to do it. Okay, it's like they know that they would prefer that if they didn't have to do it, but damn it, they want to be the one that gets a better deal than their neighbor. Okay, and I can tell you at our mini store when I worked there, our pre-owned cars were the price was the price, and the rationale behind it that I used to share with consumers was it doesn't matter if you're a good negotiator or a bad negotiator. You're all paying the same for it if you want to buy the car. If you come in and you say, as the good negotiator, well, I'll give you $100 less, I would look at it and say, well, unfortunately, I just have to say goodbye to you, okay? Because that is the price of the car. It doesn't matter if you negotiate better than your neighbor. Your neighbor's getting it for the same price you are, and people hate that. I can tell you, consumers absolutely hate that, except when they buy a Tesla. And with Tesla, they've kind of just accepted the fact, well, it's so much easier because, well, they set the price and I don't have to worry about a thing and I can just buy it on my computer. Okay, so you overpaid by several $1,000s and you're okay with that for those people who want to buy that way. But the vast majority of Americans do not. I wish they did, but they don't.
Okay, so again, we keep jumping on Tesla, but let me respond to that. And I think we had that comment earlier. The Model 3 price is below the national average of a average vehicle price right now. So I would say they did not overpay by thousands of dollars. They underpaid versus the average transaction right now. And the direct-to-consumer model is what allowed Tesla to drop those prices as soon as they could. I don't think you're going to see any of the Ford, Toyota, GM, and no one's going to be dropping MSRP all of a sudden anytime soon. And if they did, the dealer's just going to take that back. And to the point of the negotiation, to both of you, what's the number one used car dealer in America? Is
that would be CarMax.
CarMax, who does not negotiate.
However, okay, I understand they don't negotiate. Okay, they sell what, a little over 1 million used cars a year. There's 39 million used cars sold in the United States annually. Okay, so just because they happen to be the largest retailer, the vast majority of people aren't buying from them. Okay, 38 million other purchases are taking place on used cars at dealerships where you can negotiate. But I get what your point is. There is a niche market for negotiation free selling, and those people who prefer that will find themselves overpaying for that convenience, for not having to go through the what I would call brain damage of negotiating the best price. There are, I don't know, a couple million people a year, whether it be on the new car side and the used car side, who are willing to overpay for that convenience. But the vast majority of people who buy cars are not willing to do that. Okay, because we're America, damn it, and we win. And I'm an American, and I'm going to win. I have to win this battle with the dealer. I have to prove that I can get a better deal than my neighbor.
100%. Yeah.
So let me push back on that a little bit, because we said CarMax, they're the largest, but there's a reason why Carvana took off. Now, they're not failing because they have unreasonable prices. They're failing because they're a crappily run company and can't get titles to people. But people jump on the Carvana. They jump on the Shift, the Vrooms, all these other retailers, the Echo Parks. AutoNation does really well. All non-negotiable dealers, because people don't want that. And Mario, I'm gonna call you out a little bit here because I know this is from our personal conversations.
Yeah.
But in the negotiation world, who gets taken advantage of the most at the car dealership in the process of negotiation? I know we've had this discussion offline before.
I think that I don't want to put like one particular segment, but I think it's just people that people that are the most vulnerable from because they don't do that frequently probably, or they're just they're kind of afraid of it. But you know, let
But
me tell you something.
it's new to the market and often new to the country people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I get it.
That they get
And
taken advantage of the most.
I'm a
So
consumer advocate as
no,
more than
I know
any
you
of
are,
the.
and I'm not trying to say you're not, but I'm just saying in this negotiation discussion, uh, there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that get raked over the coals, and I will say more people get raked over the coals at a dealership because they cannot negotiate. They do not know how to negotiate because nothing else in our American life is negotiated. Right? You don't go to the grocery store and negotiate. You don't go to retail and negotiate.
Oh,
So
you
the
do
only place
negotiate. You do negotiate, and you should always negotiate. And
at the
when you
grocery
get your,
store,
when you get your job, like a new job, you take the first offer that they give you. No, you negotiate your
but
wage. You
most people
negotiate.
do.
No,
Most
but
people do take that.
yeah, but that's the right way of doing it. That's the way that we need to empower people. And that's the right way that we need to support people and tell them, hey, this is the market. And this information, there's a lot of information out there. I think the auto industry has more transparency than anything else in how much the cost it is, how much the profit margins are. So you can come in, knowledgeable and knowing what the equilibrium price is for getting a good deal that's good for both parties. But you don't get, I don't know how much Best Buy pays for that refrigerator that I want to buy, I just go with the price that it is, and that's fine, that's fine for that because it's a small purchase. But in a vehicle, you definitely have more information, micropressure. Now the challenge is, and I get it, how do we get this information over to people? How do we support people? How I think that's why we're here, to make winners, right? To make them feel proud of what they did. I went and I negotiated like I should negotiate other aspects, during life. Life is not easy. Life is not perfect. Not everything is prepackaged. This is the best offer. First, take it. You got to understand that in like buying a car is just a reflection of other. Like it's just a car, but it's an asset that you carry through life. You got to negotiate something, in your best interest, and also being able to walk away. I think that's also having the patience, having that of it's not the time, I'm not gonna buy it. And I think that builds something in your head that will help you, forward. And I think it just talking generationally, I think that the new generation, they want convenience. I think that they don't want to negotiate, they don't like friction, they don't like conflict. I think that they like everything more easy. It doesn't mean that it's better. That's what I'm saying. Easy, fast, and convenience does not equal the best option necessarily. Looking from a price point, I want to get the best deal. And I think everyone wants to get the best deal. We talked about this just the other day. Like people will always go with saving money. They are not. Sometimes they say that it's convenience, and the dealer, has always been like a good dealer. When you put $1,000 in front of them, they'll switch. They'll switch in a millisecond. And I think that's
Well,
just reality. I
yeah,
can't blame them.
yeah.
I cannot blame people. I cannot blame people for trying to save a little bit of the hard-earned money, it makes complete sense. That's why you want competition. That's why you want, if one dealer wants to sell minis at 500 under MSRP, that's great. They probably offer other value. But if another dealer is willing to go at invoice, I probably would go with invoice, and just put my pants on and just deal with a little bit of friction and save the money. So I want options. I want to have that option of negotiating, of getting my fair deal if I'm willing to do the work. I think that's my point.
I like
Uh,
that point. And
yeah.
if I could piggyback on that for just 1 second, um, just about everything in life is negotiable, even the things that we think are non-negotiable. If you go into a Best Buy and you want to buy a package of appliances, you could say something silly like, well, what could you do for me if I buy X? Okay. And more than likely, they will work with you to a certain degree. When my daughter Dara was living in an apartment and their lease was coming up and the apartment complex wanted to raise the rent. So Dara said, what should I do? I said, you should explain to them why, if they raise the rent and you move out, they're going to lose money, because it'll be at least a month before they can rent that and bring in that extra money they hope to collect from you. So that your counter offer would be, why don't we leave the rent the same? And then you could start negotiating back and forth. And guess what happened? They came down on the rent rate increase. So most people just don't realize that you could negotiate prices on just about anything if you wanted to. And we negotiate things every day. Could be a house, could be your rent, could be a car, could be when you're buying appliances, whatever it is. When my Sirius XM free subscription expired, for $15.99 a month, I could continue. Well, I pay $5 a month because I said, I don't want to continue at $15.99 a month. I won't pay that much. And they came, well, what will you pay? And I said, yeah, I'll give you a couple bucks a month. And we finally settled on $5 a month plus tax. Everything is negotiable. They're better off having me at $5 a month than not having me at all. So I agree with Mario. People do like to win, and they just don't realize the number of opportunities they have to negotiate and perhaps win.
So it seems that this is 2 against 1 and just not in the direction I thought it was going to be.
I'm sorry.
So, which is fine.
You're big enough and strong enough to handle this.
My thing is this. You are right. Those of us who negotiate, who know how to negotiate, we do. I've definitely negotiated my rent, and I negotiated for a free charging port for my Tesla to be installed by my landlord. There's that. But I also remember the first 33 years of my life where I was not a confident human being. And I was very introverted and shy, and nobody had ever taught me how to negotiate anything. And I got raked over the coals over and over and over. My first APR on my first Mustang was 28%. And I didn't know. And I'm sure there was more. Like they said, here's the price, here's your interest rate, take it or leave it. And I took it, because I didn't know any better. And yes, okay, people have CarEdge now that they can go to, and we can help and teach. So there's that. But overall, a larger segment, and Mario, you mentioned this, the younger generation too, they're not taught to negotiate. So what we're doing with this dealer model and these negotiations and everything else is we're just basically saying, here, go learn your lesson. We're going to lead the lambs to the slaughter. You're going to overpay, and you're going to get raked over the coals. You're probably going to not be able to afford lots of extra stuff. Most Americans, 56% of Americans don't have $1,000 in the bank for emergencies, right? So no one's teaching them to negotiate. That's not part of school. Parents aren't teaching people to negotiate anymore. So this direct to consumer helps fill that void of, look, you don't have to go and be an expert negotiator. And also, if I want to go buy a car and Ray's sitting next to me to buy the same car at the same dealership, why am I paying 2 different prices? Why does Ray get a better price? Just because he had the fortune of someone being able to teach him how to negotiate at some point and go through that, and I didn't. So I should be made to pay more at the dealership because I don't know how to negotiate? That seems completely unfair.
I agree with that. One of the first things I learned when I got in the car business, when I started selling cars, is that those who can afford to pay the most tend to be the highest educated people, they typically pay the least. And those who can afford to pay the least, who are typically not as well educated, pay the most. So, what it really boils down to is education. And one of the cornerstones of what we do at CarEdge is, what do we say? Knowledge is power. What we really mean is applied knowledge is power.
Yeah.
So, what we need to do is to make sure that these skills are actually taught, okay, so that we're not leading the lambs to slaughter. That there has been some time spent with trying to educate those lambs so that they can avoid the slaughter. That's really what it boils down to. And that's really, when you think about what we do at CarEdge, that's really what we do. We try to educate. We try to even that playing field through education. But I don't disagree. I mean, if I buy a plane ticket and I happen to buy it on sale for $49 and the person next to me paid $149 for it, well, how's that fair to the person next to me? I get that. But I also get that not everything in life is fair. It just isn't. I wish it were. In a perfect world, it would be, but it's not. But our job is to help educate people so that it can be more fair for more people, if that makes any sense.
But so life isn't fair. So our job is to teach people how to negotiate and get the best deal. I agree there. But isn't part of our job as the older generation, you and I, Ray, maybe not Mario, but as the older generation, to try to make life a little more fair? To try to make sure that just because we had to go through it doesn't mean that our kids have to go through the same garbage that we went through. They shouldn't have to develop a thick skin. They should be able to go out there and be treated fairly because we have set up the world for them to be treated fairly.
I wouldn't disagree with that. And that's what we fight for on a daily basis. That's why I bash the dealers that I bash. That's why we back the FTC when they were coming up with new rules and regulations that they wanted to implement. Because yes, we want to make it fairer for more people. We want there to be fairness for everybody, for the dealership, for the consumer. For whatever it is. I mean, when Dara was getting a job, and they always say, well, how much do you want to make? Dara said, well, how do I answer that? I said, I don't know. You look them dead in the eye and you go, what have you budgeted for this position? Okay, what were you expect to paying? And let me see if that meets what I need to make. It's what's the old saying? He who speaks first loses. Okay, so when they ask a question like that, you have to think about it from a different perspective. And yes, I'd like it to be fair for everybody. It's never going to be that way. Is it part of our responsibility as an older generation to make it, or try and make it more fair than it was when we were coming up? Absolutely, yes, I think it is. That doesn't mean it's going to be more fair. It just means that that's part of our responsibility as an older generation. And then the next generation can build on that. And the next generation can build on that. Because that's what I did when I ran dealerships. I made incremental changes that I knew I could get away with in how we did business. Was it where I wanted it to be? Absolutely not. But it was better than when I found it. And my hope is that the people I mentored will make it better than when I left it. That's all we can do.
So I want to give disclosure, Justin, because I saw some comments there that, oh, you should ask Tesla owners. I'm not a Tesla owner, but I do have a Polestar, and I did have to go through the direct-to-consumer model, and it's nothing special. I remember going to Mission Viejo, and it's in the 1-2 cars that you can see. You can take a look. It's not the color that I want. It's not the trim that I want. And then I gotta order it, right? I set the dealership and just build it and order, and then wait, and then I can negotiate the price, and then it's over $60,000. It's like you go home and say, like, would you do this? Like, no, I would probably would have liked to negotiate a couple, 5,000 under it if it were a BMW or if it were a Mercedes, because you knew the market. But since there's no competition, even those that they take effort in studying, and preparing themselves, they cannot do anything because everything's controlled. And I think it's not made, the direct to consumer, if everyone thinks that it's made for convenience and to be fair, I don't think that's the purpose. It's just to control pricing and to increase margins. Just as when you go to Kroger, like or Ralph's here in Southern California, I don't think that those self-checkout stands are made for my convenience. They're just made for the profit of the company. They will not employ, oh, well, it's faster. Well, it's faster because now there's only one person at the checkout stand, right? A checkout, lane. So those kind of changes just need to, with your eyes open. The OEMs are not thinking, and they have never, considered, the final. They're not thinking that goodwill. That's a business, and they will do whatever it's needed to lower the cost and to increase their margins so they can be, more profitable. And it makes sense, just be open, open your eyes that if you let that be the norm into the future, it's not in the best interest. I lived in a country where we have the agency model, that's how you buy vehicles, and you don't want to do that. It's incredible. You go and you save your money, and well, I want to buy this car. Oh, the manufacturer's no longer doing that. You have to take this car. Oh, what's the price? Oh, there's no cash discount. There's no discount. Oh, you gotta wait until we get. I will call you in a couple of months when the car's here. And that's a horrible way of spending your hard-earned cash. And I think it's not the best experience. But people do not know. They have not experienced that in other countries, and it's not the greatest thing. Just be careful. I think we built something that's very American, like Ray said, like the dealership model, just to try to sell the vehicle to gain market share. It just takes a lot of wheels in motion, and I think that at the end, it's just being competition. I like competition, and I think even having the dealership, the direct-to-consumer model, creates competition for the dealerships, which I think is good. I think that they need to see that they need to better their services. They need to make simpler the experience. They need to be more take care of their profit a little bit better, and that's good. Even in this case where Tesla is there with the direct-to-consumer model, and Ford wants to push it, and GM also, I think it's good for dealerships because they have another competitor in their horizon. It'll probably make them better in the end.
All right. So Ray, before we get to you for your final thoughts and mine, because we are, as always, over time. That's just what we do. Let's not have an end time on the show, guys, because we can't do it. But I just wanted 2 quick points before we get to all of our final thoughts. Igor, I like your point here, but I am bringing this comment up because one of our number 1 rules is no name calling. So let's not use the term snowflake. For you're right. People need to thicker skins and that's but one of our number 1 rules is no name calling. I only bring you up, Igor, because you always have amazing points. So, and I know you're not a snowflake, so I can bring up that point. My other point is not to sound contradictory to what I've said here. I believe everything I have said. My second purchase of Model 3 was at a dealership where I negotiated the price dramatically lower and lower than what Tesla was selling the same vehicle for, something I could not have done on a used Tesla through Tesla. So there is some validity to this. I think we're just in the beginning of it all. But let me get to Mario. I'll get your final thoughts, and then Ray, and then we'll get the heck out of here.
Oh, I think, my thoughts is that the competition is good, and even in this new era where there's more information and there's technology and sitting at your computer, you can buy a car. I think that's an awesome alternative. So we need more alternatives. I mean, I definitely admit that the more options that we have, the better. And hopefully, each brand will be different. Hopefully, because I don't think that it works for every single type of buyer out there. And I think it's going to be a market for people that do want to get a deal, and some market for people who just don't care about price and they just want a car delivered to their doorstep. But I think at the end, those that want to get the best deal, they should have the ability of negotiating and just pushing and getting a fair deal, and not be. I would not like to have a market where everyone's the same, and everyone, drives the same car and drives at the same price and high price, right? And there's no competition. And I think that's my main point. Let the open market stand, and let's have more inventory, and let's let the salespeople find the ways to market and get more share. And the smart consumer, hopefully, we can help the consumers to get the right tools so they can make a good deal. And I think everyone will be happy. The dealer will be selling cars, the manufacturer will be building cars, and the consumer will be getting a fair deal, every couple of years. And if we can help them also into be more confident and be more aware, like Ray said, that everything is negotiable and you gotta need to stand up by yourself. And this is one little bit, those roadblocks that you need to surpass. That'll be great, because we see that every single day with people. Justice, that people are so proud when they make the deal, and they never thought that they could do it. And I'm sure that that's gonna translate into their daily lives, how they see, the options, they need to consider. And I think we make a change, and it's incredible. It's just a car. It's just a car, but I think it has an impact, in the way that they go forward with their lives.
Very nicely said. And my final thoughts is, I think maybe there's a hybrid system out there somewhere between what we've had for the last 100 some years in the dealership model to what we've seen with the Tesla model. There's probably something where we can marry parts of both and make it better for everybody. But I agree with Mario. I don't like the idea that the price is just set, and it's not an MSRP with Tesla. It's the Tesla price. I don't like the concept where the manufacturer just sets the price and that's that. So that I think if we can have some type of hybrid system that marries the best parts of both, where you have a dealership model and you have dealership personnel who are product specialists, and they really can go over the product with you, and then you can negotiate with the salesperson or the sales manager or whoever it is to get your best deal after you've met with a product specialist. Maybe that's the hybrid. I don't know, but I think there can be something where we marry the best parts of both.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely a world out there of something in between. I know Mark here, there needs to be a mechanism for test driving. I will say, since we just keep talking about Tesla every day, the Tesla does do that. You actually get to go test drive the vehicle, and then you can order it. And then when it comes in, you actually are still not obligated to purchase it. You can test drive that. And if there's something that you don't like on that particular one, you don't have to. So that's there. But to get to my final thoughts of the day, I thought it was going to be Ray and I against Mario. It ends up that it's Mario and Ray against me. So what I have to say is actually directed at both of you then. So what you two have said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent responses were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone watching this stream right now is dumber for having listened to it. I award you both no points, and may God have mercy on your